I hope everyone out there in my audience is having an absolutely wonderful Labor Day weekend. It is a very beautiful day here in Florida. I'm not going to take up a whole lot of your time today, but there are some things to cover. There's some news that I think people need to hear, and there's a very simple math equation I'd like to share with you that I think would bring a lot of things into focus that I've been speaking about recently. Now, I'm sure many of you know that Labor Day is a holiday rooted in evil, terrible, horrible socialism. Now, back then, socialism had a very, very different meaning than it does today. Today, of course, it means take money from those who are earning it and give it to those who are lazy and don't want to do anything. When Labor Day was created, that wasn't the case. It was the idea that capitalists, those attempting to get rich, cannot control every aspect of American life and society. There has to be rules. Now, real easy. Many people have a little envelope somewhere, or would like to, I guess, maybe these days, with $1,000 tucked away that they don't need. Just a little safety net, a kitty, that would give them a little bit of a peace of mind. Maybe these days more than $1,000, who knows? But I'm sure a lot of folks would like to have even this. Just to know that if something broke down in the car, you'd be able to more than likely take care of it for $1,000, unless it's something like a transmission or an engine. Now, capitalism is a socioeconomic system based on private property rights, including the private ownership of resources like cash or capital, with economic decisions made largely through the operation of a market unregulated by the state. But we know that when you do laissez-faire capitalism, there's no room for morality. That means whatever makes the most money goes. Socialism means that, the greater benefit of society is what's really the key. Now, we live in a place where we benefit from both. There are markets, some that are regulated more than others. We have government that pays farmers for our groceries before they even hit the shelf in the form of subsidies. So there's socialism there, but largely business can operate unencumbered. And we can enjoy free markets, but with limits. And when necessary, social standards can intervene. Now, many people complain about the private Fed controlling the money supply. Well, many people don't realize how much control the American people have over the money supply simply based on their attitudes. Now, as opposed to that little envelope with $1,000 in it, I'm sure even more people would like a case like this that had tens of thousands in it. But what's the average income in America? Average income, depending on the number you look at, normally runs somewhere around 60 grand. Median household income in 2019 was 68 grand. So I brought up a calculator. Now, this is the very simple math that I think would stun a lot of people. There are 157 million working Americans in North America right now, in the United States, out of the entire population. If each of them set to their mind in the next 4 years to save $15,000, which really wouldn't be hard, they would be removing $2.355 trillion from the economy. Now, I know a lot of people think $15,000 is a lot of money. Well, over 4 years, let me do this on my manual calculator here. $15,000 divided by 48 months is about $312 a month. Divide that by 4 weeks, you'd have to save about $78 a week. Now, I know that'd be rough for some, but I think people could many could achieve much more than that, given how much they make, $100,000, $200,000 a year. Folks down on the lower end probably couldn't. But as a whole, I think it would be very achievable. But wait a minute, what would happen over the next 4 years if we pulled 2.3 trillion out of the economy and in essence buried it in the backyard or put it in a mattress or under a pillow? Well, the people controlling the money supply will be like, well, wait a minute. We're seeing the velocity of money slow way down. You see, the velocity of money, that's key. That's how many things people are buying and how fast. A high velocity of circulation in a country indicates a high degree of inflation. Prices are going up because there's not enough goods and too many dollars chasing them. But wait a minute, what happens when you start sucking money out of the equation and putting it under your pillow and saving it? It slows the circulation down. That's right. You would have a deflationary cycle. Low velocity. This is an example using pizzas. If you could break down real gross domestic product into a certain amount of pizzas that cost $10 each, the money supply was 10,000 and 3,000 pizzas were sold at $10. The average dollar was used in 3 separate transactions for 3 pizzas. Now, in a deflationary cycle, however, prices would go so low that businesses would just go under. You see, in an inflationary cycle, there's a lot of business. You can't get enough help, which is what we're seeing now. Help wanted signs everywhere. There are places that are having to close because they don't have the staff to reach the demand. But on the other side of that, once the business goes out of business, it's over. What's happening right now is they're looking at long term in the next 3 to 5 years, a huge deflationary cycle that's going to be way worse than the inflationary cycle we're in right now. Case in point, Bed Bath & Beyond finance chief jumped off a skyscraper. No hope. Why? Because of what's going on right now, the pendulum's going to swing the other way. And prices of everything are going to crash. Everything. This is why Bitcoin went under. Bitcoin was just a giant well where people were dumping dollars into it, literally putting money under your pillow, so to speak, digitally, where the dollars were just disappearing and doing no good to help the economy. So when Bitcoin crashed, people got out of it, a whole bunch of dollars flowed back into the economy. And that's what we're seeing right now. You see, in the price of real goods, when you buy perishables, even things that have long shelf lives, built into that price is the idea that you're going to be a return customer. It's cheaper because they know that's not going to be the last can of beans you buy, not going to be the last jar of peanut butter you buy. They have a cost associated in the price of replacing that item. Well, when you store up and store up and store up to a certain point where you may not have to buy something like this for 3 years or 5 years, it sends everything out of whack. That's why this garbage food sometimes is so wildly overpriced. Because they know you're not coming back, price-wise. So when the velocity of money slows to a certain point in a deflationary cycle, it's not going to matter how much money you have under your pillow. There's going to be nothing to buy it with. And, by the way, those of you out there who think I've been wrong talking about all of this prostitution and infidelity and all this kind of thing, Ukraine moles legalizing pornography. Now, why would they do that? because a petition argues that it could add money to Kyiv's budget. That's right. See, they're having such a money flow issue in Europe now because of all of this. They are looking for any way to prime the pump. Literally any way to get somebody to hand somebody else money for goods or services, no matter what they are. Here's a wiki on, and it's really a great read on public morality, and read about the Victorian era and how much of what we believe doesn't really come from the Bible, it comes from the Victorian era. Because when all this finally catches up with people, and people can't pay their bills, businesses go out and say, we can't afford to employ you anymore. There's a certain cycle that's going to occur. First you lose the house, then you lose the car, and then the Uber driver becomes something you can't tolerate anymore. So you move in with friends, but that puts more stress on them. What do people do? Desperate people do desperate things. And this is going to explode. It's going to absolutely go nuts because nobody's going to legalize armed robbery or breaking and entering or thievery or burglary. Besides, this is just taking money from one place and putting it in another, in the sense that nothing is created. Now, some might argue that's the case with prostitution too. That all that's being purchased is a memory and a temporary feeling. That's all that's being purchased. Meaning there's no goods created here. It doesn't create like for example, if these three ladies had a lemonade stand here, where they had to go buy lemons and ice and sugar and cups, and they were actually just selling lemonade, they would still need to go replace all that, no matter what they were charging for the lemonade. Let's say this guy would pull up here and talk to a girl and take her home and say, you know what? I have all of these groceries in my cabinets, but I don't know how to cook. I'll pay you whatever you want for the next 3 hours. If you could just, whatever I have in the cabinets, whatever you can make, could you make me a home-cooked meal? That's it. That's the deal. It's a service. It's not the service that you would think, of course, here on the street, but nevertheless, it's a service. But the groceries would eventually have to be replaced. Even if he hired her to once a week come in and run the sweeper and clean the windows. Maybe one day play board games and watch movies. Next one, go to dinner and go to the theater. You know, whatever the service was, there would be this added velocity, which is what I'm talking about, to the economy. And this is what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to find a way to prime the pumps. And the pirates are going to love it. The pirates of society are going to absolutely love this idea. Because think of the logic for 1 minute. In a society like North America, where obesity is continuing to explode, even since 2020, in a place where they're complaining about food shortages. I go to the grocery store, and there's not this, and this, and the things they have are super expensive. In a country where obesity is exploding, all that means is that people are still eating more than what they need. They're just having to choose different things. Imagine eating 30% more than what you need and complaining about your grocery bill going up 20%. It's unbelievable. And if you don't believe me, go to Sam's Club, go to Costco, It'll be worth the membership just to see the people there. What they call a slice of pizza is bigger than some pizzas you can buy whole in the freezer. That's what they call a serving of one. Seriously, it's... And while we're on that subject, and I guess I'll leave with this. Ladies, and I'm speaking to the ladies in my audience because they're the vast majority of ones that have had this problem with this topic I've been talking about. Let's say, theoretically, you had married this man when he was 200 pounds. And over the last 5 years, he's gained 400 pounds. Now, he hasn't left the house in over a year or 2 years. He's never laid a finger on another woman. And he reads his Bible. And, he's on disability, so he's got all this government money coming in, so he's paying all the bills. Are you seriously going to sit there with a straight face and tell me that you are Corinthians 7:4 bound to be intimate with him? The wife hath not power of her own body, but the husband. And likewise also, the husband hath not power of his own body, but the wife. Are you going to sit there and tell me that it would be your Christian duty as his wife to be on demand intimate with him? Because the vow said, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, and in sickness and in health. I'm sure you would say, yes, this is worse. Yes, this is sickness. But you'd look me straight in the eye and say that if he said, come over here, I want to be intimate with you, and then thumped his Bible and said, Corinthians 7:4, you're bound to do it. Hell no. Hell no. Sorry. The unfaithfulness came a long time ago with this guy. And it has nothing to do with him having looked at another woman, been in the presence of another woman, even wanted to. Nothing. You can see what he's in love with right here. You can see the violation of the vow. There's no way you would be Corinthians 7:4 bound. Heraclitus. This is not the Bible. This is a Greek philosopher. Always having what we want may not be the best good fortune. Health seems sweetest after sickness. Food only in hunger. Goodness in the wake of evil. And at the end of a day-long labor, sleep. You see, we need all of these opposites, the things that we don't want. Once in a while, sickness. Once in a while, hunger. Once in a while, evil. And once in a while, we work ourselves to death so that we can appreciate sleep. We can appreciate goodness. We can appreciate a meal and our health. We need these other things. And that's just good wisdom for your Labor Day. And if you're enjoying it, thank a socialist. I'll leave it there. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.